Fewer website visitors means that every visit carries much more weight. And that means we have to be much more intentional with what we're doing on the website to guide people into what we would call on a website a conversion. Welcome to the Missional Marketing Podcast. This is episode number
185.
185. We are marching towards the 200th episode here in the year of 2026. So if you happen to be listening to this in real time, happy midway through the year. We're glad that you have joined us on another episode of the show. My name is Bart Blair. I'm part of the Missional Marketing Church Communications Group team, and I'm joined by the CEO of our organization, Mr. Jason Hamrock. Hello, Jason.
Hi, Bart. I love doing these podcasts with you. It's fun to teach. It's also fun to just collaborate.
Yeah. And we're learning, right? Every time we get on this, we're like doing a deeper dive into something that we're having to just continue to educate ourselves on. We want to be better. We want to be more helpful. We want this content to be helpful for you. We've been producing this podcast since 2020 with the goal of helping churches grow by leveraging digital marketing and effective communications. We know that you, as a church leader, you want to reach more people in your community. You want more people coming through your front doors on Sunday. You would love for those people to be people who are spiritually open, looking for Jesus so that your church can reap a harvest for the kingdom. And that's what we'd love to be able to support you in. And today, we're going to be talking about your church website. Now, we talk about websites a lot. We have a lot of episodes in our archives on websites, but we're going to talk about websites maybe with a slightly different angle or more intentional angle today. I've titled this particular episode, "Is Your Church Website Actually Working for First-Time Guests?" The reason I decided to cue this episode up today, Jason, is because we're learning some things about church website traffic. Do you want to share a little bit about what we're learning about church website traffic?
Yeah, unless you've been living under a rock, which I doubt all of you are, there is some massive changes going on in the world of search engines, specifically Google. You know, Google's the big beast because of AI. And what's happening is what's called a zero-click search result. Zero click, meaning people are going to Google looking for what they're looking for and getting the answer through the either AI's overview, or they're just simply going to LLMs like Claude or ChatGPT or Grok, right? And so what's happening is that's causing organic traffic to a church website to drop. And you, Bart, I know you talk to your churches that you get to serve here at Missional Marketing, and you are seeing a pretty big trend in all this, aren't you?
Yeah, even just last week, as I was reviewing kind of May website traffic from churches, comparing May of 2026 to May of 2025, almost every single church website that I looked at, which was probably about a dozen, year over year, organic traffic is down. Google reported in the first quarter of this year a 68% zero-click search rate. That means almost 7 out of 10 people who did a Google search did not follow through with a click to a website. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Jason. I think a lot of us are getting the answers to the questions that we're asking in an AI summary, AI overview. We're going over to AI mode in Google. Or we're just cutting to the chase and going straight to Claude or ChatGPT or Perplexity and doing our search there. Searches are becoming more complex. People are getting more definitive answers with their searches, and it means that they don't need to go to the website to get the information. Think about it this way. If let's say you're Grace Community Church in San Antonio, Texas, that's actually a church that we get to serve. You're Grace Community Church in San Antonio, Texas, and somebody searches, "Hey, Google, what time are the services at Grace Community Church in San Antonio, Texas?" Google will now tell them what time the services are and a little bit of additional information in the AI. And here's my Google phone is talking to me. My phone is always listening. I should have turned that off. But Google gives the results in an AI overview now. They don't have to click to your website to get that information, right?
That's right. And we have to understand that. So I think in a future, very soon, podcast, we're going to dive deeper into how do you ensure that you're being found these large language models accurately. As my co-host always says, the A in AI does not stand for accuracy
That
all
is
the
true.
time.
Yes,
And
that is
so
true.
it's a whole nother podcast, because it's really important you understand how to get found, how to get found in large language models. But for this particular podcast today, the reason why we want to talk about actually working for first-time guests on your website is because you have less to work with. So you got to make a really good impact on those visitors who are on your website, because they're there for a reason, and let's not blow that opportunity.
Yeah, fewer website visitors means that every visit carries much more weight.
Yeah.
And that means we have to be much more intentional with what we're doing on the website to guide people into what we would call on a website a conversion. What is a conversion? I mean, ultimately, we want spiritual conversions. We want people to say yes to Jesus. But a website conversion is, we have very specific things that we want a new visitor on our website to do to engage with us, so that ultimately they will come through the front door of our church building on Sunday morning. So if we have less traffic, we need to be much, much more intentional with how we're leveraging the website. It can't be a shotgun blast approach. We have to drill down on what is it that we want a new visitor to our website to do to make sure that they're getting the information that they need so that they can effectively plan their first visit with us and ultimately walk through our doors on Sunday morning. So we have a few specific things that we're going to kind of tackle today. This isn't going to be probably as deep as it could be. And Jason and I are happy to get on a call with anyone who's listening to this podcast to do an audit, to walk through your website, to give you more pointers and more specific directives. But for today, we're going to highlight a few specific things. The first thing, Jason, that we want to kind of talk through is, like, what are the most important things? What are the things that in the first 60 seconds a person needs to be able to find on a church's website?
Yeah. Well, I read a book years ago called Don't Make Me Think. And it had to do with websites and the fact that sometimes we just confuse people because we think we know what they want versus we're not putting ourselves into their shoes from their eyes and their perspective. So, I mean, obviously some really easy ones are your service times. What time do you meet, and location. And then what I think we kind of move past is what to expect. I'm a big fan of an FAQ section. I'm not saying put an FAQ above the fold, but I think we want to have some links for somebody to see what time your service is, where y'all located, what to expect. I'd also probably add one more thing is, tell me, like, who goes to your church? Are those my people? In a sense, would I fit in? If I'm a younger family, do I see other younger families in this church? Or if I'm an older person, you got to make sure that you're thinking through that about what you're putting on that homepage, especially above the fold, for that user to really see what they can, what you want them to see, and can they engage and they find themselves going, I like what I see here.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about photos and the types of photos that churches should use on websites, but it blows my mind sometimes how often I end up on a church's website and the name of the city is nowhere on the homepage. Like, you might have to go all the way down to the footer to find an address. And even sometimes that's not even obvious. And so, like, really, as a church leader, you need to go through your website and look at it with an outsider's eyes. In fact, you can actually use AI to do that. You can paste your URL into Claude or ChatGPT and actually ask it to audit your website from an outsider's perspective. It's pretty interesting to see what kind of information that you can get. But I think you're right. I mean, service times and location are really, really critical on the homepage.
And you said this, I think when you don't talk to people that you are expecting to meet eventually on a Sunday, you're quietly saying, we're not really expecting new guests. Right. Think about that, guys. Think about that. Is your website so full of insider information that you're like, well, we don't really optimize for new guests because we're not expecting them? Or is your website fully focused on the one over the 99? Mm-hmm. And that's, you got to look at your website through that lens. If you don't, you're really missing out on this potentially really large opportunity to connect with it. Like Bart said at the top of this thing, our traffic's getting less and less organically, right? They're getting all their information in AI. So we better make sure we hit a home run almost every time we can with the content and the verbiage and, the verbiage and content, same thing. And the imagery and just the brand of your church on that homepage.
Yeah, I love that the way you said that, Jason. If we make the information too difficult for people to find, or we're not providing them what they're actually looking for, it communicates to them that we don't have a place for them, and that's the opposite of what we want to communicate. I was on let's talk about photos for just a second, because you hit on that a moment ago. You said people are asking that question: am I going to fit in? Are there people there like me? I was on a church's website this morning. Their homepage had 2 pictures of their building and a picture of a Bible on the homepage. That was it. I was talking to the pastor and I was like, I don't even know how many, is your church a big church, a small church? It's a big building. How many people attend your church? Is it young, old, white, multi-ethnic? I can't tell anything about your church, because all you have on here is a couple of pictures of the building and a picture of the Bible, which tells me what you value. You value the Bible, you value your building. Jesus values people, right? He came and died for the lost, which is all of us. He died for people. God so loved the world, the people. Yeah. And so we want to share that same story on the homepage, well, on all the pages of our website. But let's start with the homepage, because this is what we're talking about, that user experience. What kind of photos are you looking for on a church's homepage, Jason?
Well, if I visited your church and I walk through, I'm looking at the lobby, right? Before service, after service, and I'm just looking around the lobby. Who am I seeing and what are these people doing? Right. And those are the kind of photos that I want on the website. Why? Because the back of heads, if I see a lot of church websites have a picture from the back of the worship center, click, and they're showing people, maybe there's a hand raised, but it's the back of their heads. You have no idea if these people are having a good time or not. Maybe they're asking questions.
That's what I would say. It looks like everybody has a question to ask.
Yeah, you can't tell emotion from somebody's back. You want to see what's on their face. You want to read the emotion on their face. Are they smiling? Are they laughing? Do they look like they're having a good time? Are they hanging out? I love it when I see, a couple of guys just having conversations, and they don't look bored. They look like they're having a good time, right? Or you see 4 or 5 ladies and they're giggling and laughing. Those people look like they have joy in their life, because they do. And they're at church and they're hanging out. That should be the atmosphere around your campus on a Sunday morning. And I want to capture that. Those are the pictures I want to see. I want to see myself in that. And by the way, I think there's some FOMO that we also want to try and capture here. You want people to go, I really want friends like that. I wish I had a marriage like that. I wish my kids were hanging out with mom and dad, right? You want to create some of that FOMO. And that's so important, I think, in terms of getting somebody to psychologically go, oh, I want to be there. If you have a picture of a Bible, which I love the Bible, okay? We're not talking about that. We love the Bible. But if it's a picture of a Bible and a picture of a building, that brings no emotion other than I don't even know what to do with that. Yeah, I read the Bible. Oh, you guys teach the Bible. Check. But that's all I got, because I don't really care about a building.
I think it was Leonard Sweet who back in the early 2000s wrote a lot of best-selling books for the church. And he used the phrase image rich to describe the culture that we're trying to reach. Ooh. The culture that we're trying to reach is influenced by images, which is why Instagram became such a big hit when Instagram came out, right? Images tell a story. Picture paints 1,000 words, right? Or whatever that phrase is there. Picture's worth 1,000 words. And so I think you're right on, Jason. I think we need to look at our website and evaluate what is the story that my photos tell. I was on a call with a church in your neck of the woods there in the Phoenix area a couple of years ago. And I remember the pastor, as I was getting to know the church and the pastor, he said, our church they're not a huge church. They're a decent sized church, mid-sized church. He said, but we really don't want people to think that, it's not like a rock experience, like a concert experience that we have on Sunday morning. And that's not the ethos that we're trying to create. We've got other churches in the community that do that, and we're different. And I said, but why is the main photo on your homepage of your website of the worship band on the stage? If that's not what you're trying to convey, he's like, oh my goodness, I never thought about it that way. Of course you didn't think about it that way. It's just a great photo. It's a fantastic photo. Whoever took the photo captured a great moment. It's an attractive photo, but it's not the ethos that you're trying to communicate about your church, right? So I'm really big on body life photos. What is body life in your church? Maybe it's small groups. Maybe it's fellowship engagements. Maybe it's mission trips. Maybe it's local service activities. Maybe you have a food pantry, or you're building a house for Habitat for Humanity. what are the stories that you really want to tell? A lot of times you're using those photos on social media, but not using them on your website. Use your website, use big photo containers on the homepage of your website to tell the story of what body life is like in your church, not just the worship experience, the 65, 75 minutes in the worship center on Sunday morning, but really try to capture what your community looks like.
Yeah, totally. And I also I don't see a whole lot of pictures, engaging photos on a homepage, right? That you got one chance, a quick chance to make a great impression for that person who's thinking about coming to your church. You better put all kinds of great photos on there. We don't have great photos. You work on a strategy to get them, right?
Yep.
Work on a strategy. If you have to hire a photographer or you got to recruit some people in your church, get some good photos. We build a lot of church websites. And the very first thing we tell churches is, okay, we're getting ready to start this website. Go get your photos, right? Go get fresh ones, go get new ones, get seasonal ones. You just got to be really intentional about this because it's that important. That you are so right in that images do the emotional work copy can't.
Yeah.
I can look at a photo and boom, I can see myself if I fit in or not.
Yeah. So, we've talked a lot about AI. We will continue to talk a lot about AI because it really is disrupting the way that search works. But here's the deal. The messaging in AI can never really communicate the ethos and the culture of your church, right? I can do an AI search in ChatGPT and it can tell me things about your church, but it's really going to tell me facts, maybe sentiment about your church based on reviews or other things that people have written. But until I go to your church website, I really can't know what the experience is going to be like, which is really why the website needs to be differentiated from the factual information that people can find in AI. It needs to contain the factual information. Otherwise, the large language models can't find it. It needs to be optimized for the large language models so that they can find that information. But ultimately, you need that experience, that user experience on the website to lead a person on a journey to find answers to the questions that they're looking for, and to really get that emotional connection, that emotional attach to who you are as a church and what your community is like. Now, we've probably already hit on some of these things already, Jason, but what are some of the common mistakes that when you're looking at a church website, you see things that people go, and you're like, this makes this website feel either more like a brochure about your church, or it's just too inward focused. What are some of the things that you see on websites that say, hey, it's too much of a brochure or it's too inward focused?
Well, often, so we get kind of lost because we let our inside people influence what we should put on our website. I can't find anything. You hear that all the time. Where's that event? And we then go, oh gosh, we better optimize our site for the 99, right? And we lose sight of this stuff, especially on the homepage. And so this is going to sound really offensive, so I apologize, but nobody cares about your mission statement outside your church. No one. They don't care. What they care about is, what do you have to offer me and my family? And I'm a big fan of Donald Miller, of his book, Building a Story Brand, right? So there you go. Go get that book if you've not read that book before. You should follow the principles of that book when you're creating your homepage, because you really want to speak to the one. Now, I love your mission statement. Don't get me wrong. But if you're going to have your mission statement on your homepage, that mission statement's all about us, our mission, we, us, not about you. And so I would just reword it to say, we want to help you discover who Jesus is and find friends to do life with in community. Welcome to Sunday. We can't wait to meet you, right? Your same mission statement reworded for an external, right? And somebody who's not yet a part of your church. And so we make a big mistake of using a lot of insider language and a lot of church jargon that most of those are like sacred cows, right? We just can't get rid of them. And so be really careful about that. When I coach churches on this, I'm trying to speak to the one who's furthest from God, somebody who's maybe never been to church before, except for maybe a funeral or a wedding, right? And so their idea of church is basically from TV shows, right? That they have no clue. And so we have to speak to that person. And if you can go all the way there, you're going to cover everybody else who has been to church before, but maybe it's been a little while since they've been to church before. So go all the way there. Those are the people we're trying to reach. for Jesus, right? And I think that's really, really important. So we often will build our homepage for our members. And I just don't, I'm really cautious about that, guys. You don't want to use, that kind of stuff. Login for members. That's an exclusive club that I don't belong to. I guess I'm an outsider. I think I'm not going to go there.
Yep. Yeah. Or if the give button is more prominent than the plan a visit button, that communicates something to the people who are visiting your website. Here's another one that it's a really tricky one, because churches can be really, really creative communities. And oftentimes we get creative with the way that we name ministries. And then we use the names of our ministries on our website rather than real descriptors about what they actually are. So maybe you've got a name for your children's ministry, or a name for your student ministry, or a name for some sort of community counseling, men's group, women's group. And we give them all these names, and you've got, Swizzle and Craft and I don't even know, Nifty Knitters or whatever. It doesn't tell. I guess that one actually tells you what it is. It's for knitters. But call your children's ministry, call your student ministry, call your men's ministry, call your women's ministry. Not necessarily saying that you can't use branded concepts in the context of your church, but when it comes to your website, number one, help the user find what they're looking for by putting the cookies on the bottom shelf. Make it super obvious and easy what you're communicating to them. Oh, and by the way, the large language models like ChatGPT, they don't know what Swizzle is either. It's your high school ministry. I just made that up. I've never heard a church that had Swizzle as their high school ministry. They should copyright that one. Swizzle. Sounds cool. I'd join a ministry called Swizzle. I don't even know what it is, but I should join it. Swizzle students, right? I don't know. Anyway, the point is, make sure that your website is making it and the roadmap really easy for people to find what they're looking for. Before we drift off of this, though, Jason, I said something. I said your plan a visit button should be more prominent than your give button. Why don't you talk a little bit about the plan a visit journey or the plan a visit experience for new users?
Well, first of all, so often when somebody gets to a website, you may catch yourself doing this. You look right there at above the fold. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Above the fold is newspapers. Old people who know newspapers, it's folded in half. So the most important real estate in a newspaper is above the fold, the top part of the fold of the front page of the newspaper. Same thing with your website, above a very, very top part of your homepage. And so what happens is people look at that and their eyes automatically go up and to the right. And if we build a website for the one over the 99, the very button I see is give. Welcome to our church. Give. And my goodness, people, I'm telling you, if you move that button down to the footer, or maybe it's a little bit further inside, it's not you might have 4 or 5 different tabs at the top, make that one of the gives, but don't put it to the far right. Your giving's not going to go down. Somebody's not going to be all frustrated because I didn't see that give button, so I just decided not to give. It's not going to go through people's minds who go to your church, okay? That should be a plan your visit. And that's forward thinking. I want you to plan your visit to come to our church. Make it really easy for people to learn about what it's like. And you're actually telling people, we're expecting you. When you have a plan a visit, we are expecting you. This is what you do. This is what people hear. Everybody plan their visit, and they're at our church. You're next. We can't wait to meet you this weekend.
Yeah.
So I would put that button at the very, very top. I'd also put it in the fold there after you have a really great, catchy, God loves the real you. My churches use that. Or we can't wait to meet you this weekend. Either watch button, because that's probably what they're going to do if they have never been to your church before, and plan your visit might have 2 buttons right there. And that's what I would do. And there's a lot of you got some really cool strategies, Bart, on the plan your visit type of landing page about what should go on that particular page. I really like what you've done with other churches that says, hey, let us send you an email so you can be prepared. All you're asking for is a simple email and then submit. All of a sudden, boom, that your system would send them an email, maybe as a PDF, where they could link to check in kids on their own time, what to wear, where to park, all that kind of stuff would be really, really cool. But you just gained a lead.
Right.
You can't look past that. That's huge. So, that's just off the top of my head on above the fold.
Yeah, on that plan to visit page, this is the conversation that I have with churches often, is that I implore you to treat your plan to visit page like a second homepage. So don't leave off the name of your church. Don't
Yeah.
leave off service times and locations. Don't make it feel like a secondary or tertiary page of the website. It will be like a second homepage for the website. So the user experience needs to be just like it would on the homepage. Share the story, lots of pictures. Help me plan my visit, know what to expect when I get there, where to park, what the people are going to look like, how long I should expect to be there. But you're right, Jason, that call to action on that page shouldn't be plan your visit, fill out a form, and tell us you're coming. It should be, let us send you something. We want to send you a pre-visit email. I have one church that I worked with at one point that had a little PDF guide that they would send you that's how to visit. I can't remember exactly what it was. I still have it somewhere on my computer. It's how to visit a church for the very first time. And it gave like 10 pointers on things that you should do when you're visiting a church for the very first time. What kinds of things to do, what kinds of things to avoid. And one of the things I love that they said was that you should visit church like a tourist, not like a spy. What do spies do? Spies come in and they scout out a few things and then they leave. If you go to Disneyland, you go and you walk every single square foot of Disneyland to see everything because you're a tourist. You paid for it. Go and visit the church like a tourist. We need to treat our website as if we're trying to entice the tourist to come and check out our church. We want to show and tell a great story about who we are, the hope that God offers. We want to show people whose lives have been changed by Jesus because it shows in their face. It shows in the experience that they're having, because we want people to come to that website, homepage or plan a visit page, and go, I don't know what those people have, but whatever it is that they have, I want some of it. And I'm going to show up this Sunday to see if I can get some of that. So here's my advice there. And yeah, of course, if you use that let us send you a pre-visit email call to action, and you can get some email addresses, then you can more effectively follow up with those people. You're not dependent on them to fill out a connection card the first time they show up, or better yet, it better helps you track when people are on the website to when they're actually showing up on Sunday, because perhaps they're going to register kids, check in kids to the children's ministry, or they do fill out your digital connection card. And you can say, hey, this person filled out the plan to visit form or the pre-visit email form on our website 6 weeks ago. And 6 weeks later, they fill out a connection card on Sunday morning. It shows you that there's a gap. There's a time period that people need. Either I'm attending a few times on a Sunday before I fill out the connection card, or it just took me 6 weeks to muster up the courage to actually show up on Sunday after I filled out the form on your website, right? A lot that we can interpret from that. But those are some things that I typically find to be helpful.
Yeah, you said this at the very top of the show today, that there's conversions. And I kind of look at buckets of conversions. The ultimate conversion we want is actually not the last conversion. The ultimate conversion we want is them to say yes to Jesus and get baptized, right?
Sure.
That's probably number 3, I think. My thinking is, number 1 is I want a conversion of getting somebody on our website. So we're either doing paid ads or we're doing organic traffic stuff to get people onto our website. Call that a good conversion. Yes, but I'm not done yet, because then when they're on our website, we either want them to fill out some kind of a form, right, to plan their visit and then show up. But if we could track conversions from that standpoint, hallelujah. Now they're at church. Now they've come to church and they've converted. They checked in their kids, or they walked by the kiosk, or maybe they gave some money, right? That they converted. We're like, this is awesome tracking. And then of course we want them to say yes to Jesus if they haven't said yes to him before, get baptized. And then our last conversion is a fully devoted follower, right? They're carrying their cross daily. They're a disciple at our church, and they are engaged. That's a sequence. I kind of call that a funnel, right? And so you got to be really mindful that you can't really miss a step in that, right? To be tracking. But as a comms person who's probably listening to us talk about this, man, I'm in tune with all those conversion metrics. I'm in tune with all those different, we might call them silos, but that's probably not a good word to use, but just sort of buckets of the path that people take. And I think we got to be really mindful, because at Missional Marketing, we're trying to help with all of those. We're trying to help teach that and share that. And this conversation about your website is deep into be paying attention, because you got one shot to make a really great impression because we're getting less and less traffic to our website, and we want to move it into the next step of the journey.
Yeah. This has been great, but we should probably wrap this up. I do want to mention one thing though, because the time that we were recording this, we have a brand new tool available for churches. It's free on our website, missionalmarketing.com, and it is called a digital health snapshot. What this is it's essentially an audit of a church's digital footprint. It looks to see, how does your website play with Google? How does your website play with large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini? What does your SEO look like? How is your searchability? How is your social media? How is your website from a technical standpoint? There's 6 different points or 6 different areas where you get an evaluation of your church website or your church's digital footprint as a whole. And it's a free resource, a free tool that we're offering to churches. So if this is something that you're interested in, make sure you visit our website, missionalmarketing.com. Somewhere on the homepage, you will find directions on how to get your free digital health snapshot. And then you can schedule a call with one of our coaches to kind of walk you through it, help you understand it, and then help you strategize on how you can improve your digital footprint. You know, we've said this for a long time, that if your church is invisible to Google, your church is invisible to your community. If your church is invisible to ChatGPT, your church is invisible to your community. If your user experience is not intentional, you're missing opportunity to reach people that God has right in your community, checking out your church, trying to decide if your church is the right fit for them. And we don't want you to miss those opportunities. So please take advantage of that. Jason, anything else that you want to add before we call this one closed?
Well, I think let me add on to the to this audit report. It's such a great report, guys. It's free. And we love to educate, teach, and help churches. So when you get that report, the digital health report, what's going to happen is you're going to get a coach that can spend a half hour with you, an hour with you, no charge for that. We're going to walk you through what's on that report. You got to know. We want to elevate your thinking and your knowledge about these tools that constantly change. They're always changing all the time. And so our job, that's our ministry. It's why we do what we do, is to help you. So you get this report. We'll probably spend some time helping you, educate you, and giving you a sort of a game plan of what you need to do to go tackle that stuff. And maybe you need some help with it. Maybe you can do all of it, but you got to be educated with this stuff. I tell you, it's super important. And when we see that organic traffic is going down, it is so important, guys, that you have a really clear strategy to move people through that funnel I was talking about. And so take advantage of it. It's on our website. It's a free tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more plug. And this is a little more timely. We're hosting a conference in Kansas City in September, the Church Communications Conference. If you're in the communications space in your church, whether you are full-time comms director or an administrative assistant, or you're a pastor and you own the communications and the digital outreach or the marketing in your church, we'd love for you to join us. Go over to churchcommunications.com. You can get all the information there. Jason and I will both be there. Several of the team members on our team will be there. Phil Cook, who was featured in our previous podcast episode, will be one of the keynote speakers. And it's going to be a great time. We've done this several years in a row now. Every year, it just gets better and better. This year, we're doing specific tracks for different sizes of churches. So you can be in a room in some breakouts and workshops with other people that are kind of in the same lane as you. We recognize that, a church of 5,000 people has different resources than a church of 500, than a church of 50. And we want to try to contextualize the best we are able, some of the communications coaching and the direction that you're getting based on kind of where you live in terms of your day in, day out ministry operations. So please click over to Church Communications Group to get the information there. We'll link to it in the show notes. And we should probably wrap this up. This has been the 185th episode of our podcast. Thanks for tuning in all the way to the end. If you haven't yet subscribed wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, make sure that you do that so that you don't miss future episodes. And if you know someone who might find this content to be helpful, please be sure to share this episode with them, whether that's through Spotify or Apple Podcasts or through our YouTube channel. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. you.